The thing that makes me the happiest, I'll be really honest. Like the first thing that came to my mind was fitness, because it's just something that's very therapeutic for me. But I got to be honest, it is really just being with my family. It is like the simplest stuff. It's being in the hot tub with my kids, because there's no screens that you can bring in the hot tub, so you can't help but have conversation. Or it's playing ping pong with my kids downstairs in our basement, or we play kickball in the cul-de-sac, or we throw the frisbee. Like anything that has to do with just our family being together and gathering. Like sign me up all day long, man.
I love that. Yeah, just being around family. I think at the end of the day, just who you surround yourself with is what brings that happiness in. And there's so many outside sources that are going to trim and try and destroy that, break it down. But like, as long as you shield yourself up and you cherish those moments with your family, that's the happiness, man. That's the joy,
That is true. That is so true. I like how you put that too, like how you shield it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure. I know I saw a recent video that you posted, and it was your kids. Like one of them was on your shoulders, the other was hopping on. You were just carrying everybody through the house, and I can kind of see that's like the purest form of joy in your life. Like, so what you've just shared, like it's crazy to see, like in a video, one short video, like less than a minute long. You can definitely tell that is your happy place. Just being able to spend time with your family, which I think, maybe you can kind of talk about some of your experience when you first started this journey of fatherhood and how it looks today. Do you see some differences? Do you see where you've grown and this has become your happy place, or has it from the start been that thing that has been your happy place?
I get it, man. Did you guys play sports growing up?
A little bit.
Okay, what did you play?
A little bit of soccer, a little bit of football, barely, but a little bit.
Which one of those did you love the most?
I would say soccer. That was such a long time ago.
Okay, so soccer. Were you really good at it?
No.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Talking to the right people, because I sucked at sports. Like I really did growing up. I was terrible at sports. I didn't actually even become athletic until I lost a bunch of weight when I was 17. But here's what to answer your question. What fatherhood felt like for me in the beginning years was like, you probably felt like a deep love for soccer back then, right? You're like, man, I'm really interested in this sport. Like, I really want to be good at it. Like, this is amazing. Like for me, that was like every sport. I'm like, I just want to be good at everything. And then you show up and you're like, wow, I'm terrible at this. So that's what fatherhood felt like for me in the very beginning. Like, I really like this. I'm really bad at it though. So like, it was something, man, that just wore on my self-esteem and my confidence. I'm like, God bless. Like, I just want to be good at this, but it's like one thing to like, like, let's just take this like a different sport altogether, or like fitness, right? It's like, it's like, if you're not good at fitness, or maybe you're battling, your health or whatever, like there's really no shame. In fact, it's like a status symbol now. If someone has a personal trainer, you're like, whoa, dude, you've kind of made it. Like you got a trainer, like wow, it's cool. So, that's cool that people sign up for stuff like that. However, when it comes to like fatherhood and marriage, if you're like, yeah, I don't really have this one figured out, I need some help, and then you feel like everyone's gonna be like, oh wow, you're the guy who sucks. Okay, great, now we know that. So, asking for help in those areas is not as easy as like other areas. It's like, oh, I want to grow my business, I'll join this business coaching group. Easy. I want to get fitter, so I'll sign up with this trainer. Like the whole thing of like, I need to be a better dad. Like a lot of us are like, I'll just keep that one quiet. So that's the way it felt like then. And over the past 19 years, it hasn't changed. I'm kidding. Over the past 19 years, I would say I know better now, and I know more than I did before. But I'll be really honest with you guys. I've been a dad for almost 2 decades now, and I still feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I still feel like I'm in elementary school, because like every day is different. And maybe this will be a really good way to answer your question. My 19-year-old and I were talking about this, and because he and I are having really serious conversations about the future and adulthood and parenting and relationships. And he goes, what's it like being a dad for you? And I was like, What a great question, man. I was like, okay. I was like, do you remember your first day of freshman year, high school? So he's like, yeah. You could tell. He's like, the eyes. He's like, yeah. I was like, well, I'm looking at you. Was it scary? He's like, yeah. I was so nervous. It's like my first day. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the day was going to bring. Like, what is this all about? Like, you know, what big like senior is going to come around the corner and punch me in the arm, like that kind of thing. And yeah, that's what it was like. I was like, fatherhood right there.
That's
and
good.
that feeling never goes away. No, but I tell him, I was like, listen, man, you're 19 years old in 32 days today, right? This was just like literally like a week ago. And I was like, and today was my first day raising a 19-year-old who is 19 years old in 32 days. And tomorrow will be my first day raising a 19-year-old in 33 days. I was like, so you're my newest and you're my first, and every day with you will always be different. And I was like, and every day with your brothers is different. I was like, but here's what I can tell you. Foundational tools and foundational things, you've got to get those things right, because if you don't, it will make your journey way less fulfilling, way less enjoyable. Your kids probably won't like you as much, and you'll live with some regret. I definitely live with regret. I fall on my face every day. Every day I do something wrong at least once, if not 10. But I just know how to recover a little bit faster now. And I prevent I would say, more rookie mistakes from even happening anymore. So it's still dirty, still crazy, you know, still new, but it's better.
Awesome. Well, I was actually listening to the Good Dad Project podcast.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It was good.
I was in the early days where I did not know what the hell I was doing.
I was listening to your I don't remember the other guy's name. He was interviewing you, but he was asking you about your superhero origin story, and kind of just hearing your story, just with your dad. We'll say dad's plural, and just kind of hearing that story. And so, from going to not having a dad to then having a dad, then not having a dad again, then meeting your biological father, how did that kind of shape how you father now?
Well, the good news was, so Jerry Springer was really popular when I was in college. So I was kind of always hoping like my story would get us there, and then I'm kidding. But how it I can still see people like throwing chairs and stuff like that. But I would say, you know, how did it shape me? It taught me some really good lessons. One was, what we resist will persist. And what we focus on grows. So I thought I was doing the right thing when I first became a father by like, okay, I know this laundry list of things of what not to do. And because I know these things, I'm going to be a good dad. Like in fact, I feel like in a way I kind of got the playbook in a way. Like, here's all the X's, right? Don't go here. And here's what I thought that was like great. And how that showed up for me was, I still didn't have great patience with my kids. I still had a temper. I still said things I didn't want to say out loud. I still did things I didn't want to do. I was not the father that I want to be. And I was like, what the heck is happening here? Like, I should be better, right? And then it dawned on me. The brain doesn't hear the word no or don't or not. It just hears that thing. And here's what I'll hit this home for you. All right, you guys ready? No matter what you do, don't think about DJ's epic beard right now. Just whatever you do. Just don't think of how epic that red full beard is, just staring right at us. And we can't help it. Even though I told you not to do it, you just can't help it, right? I mean, it is an epic beard without me saying, right? So, but still, like, what we focus on grows and what we resist will persist. So the brain probably only hears these red flags, which that's how I'm living my life. So that's not a good thing. And really hit this home for a guy. I went and got one of those new Pit Boss smokers like a year ago. And the good news was, when I opened up the box and put the thing together, it said, hey, congratulations on your new Pit Boss. Here's 100 ways not to put this together. Best of luck. You'll figure it out. So it's like not knowing not what to do is not, it's not even the battle, right? It's not even close to the battle. In fact, it will probably get you closer to doing the things you don't want to do, because that's what you're thinking of. So that's what I learned early on. I was like, okay, it's not enough for me to know what not to do. Like, I really need I need the instruction manual of how to put this Pit Boss together, right? I need the instruction manual of what it's like to raise good young men. What does that look like? I need the instruction manual on how to cultivate a better marriage with their mom. I don't know that one either. I just know, hey, don't get divorced. And that's not good advice. So does that help you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Cause like you said, we all think we have it. And I think that's kind of what our podcast was birthed out of, because we thought we were good dads, and then something happens and you realize, oh no, I'm not. And it just makes you question everything. And it kind of, for us, it took us to some places that we wouldn't have otherwise been, because fatherhood is hard. Like it's definitely a journey, and it's a battle every day. Like you said, it's something new every day. And it's just, everyone wants that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be the perfect dad. Let's do it. You know, when you think about having kids, yeah, I got this. No, you don't. Like it's going to go way out the window when you become a dad. And so, yeah, just, I love that, because that's what this is about. Is we like talking to their dads and helping dads on their journeys. Just don't like realize, like, you know, no one's got this figured out.
So. Yeah, nobody does, man. Like even like the high level people that you get to talk to, like you find out we all put our pants on the same way when it comes to that one. You know, you might be like an A-list Hollywood actor, but like when your kid, like, you know, throws Kool-Aid all over you and thinks it's funny, we all put our pants on the same way.
So true. Yeah. And to add on, you know, I was actually talking to my dad recently, and right before I was born, he stepped away from alcohol and drugs, and that was a big part of his life for 20 years. And so he flushed.
Did he just told you this?
No, not we've talked about it before. This is like, yeah. So he flushed all the drugs down the toilet one day and never looked back. And he, in his mind, was like, okay, this is me breaking a cycle. But what he didn't realize, and as I get older, like I'm realizing the same things. It's not so much the like that's a very obvious thing. Like you're doing something to harm yourself, which is also harming your family. So stop doing it. But you never ask yourself, why am I doing it in the first place? Like, what am I running away from? What am I resisting that I'm hoping will just go away? And when I realized this, just kind of what you said, I was like, oh my gosh, like the cycle was he grew up in an unsafe home. He turned to drugs and alcohol to escape. But never dealt with how he felt as a kid. Then when he came and we had me, I felt the same way. I felt I was in an unsafe home. I didn't turn to drugs and alcohol, but I did turn to pornography, and use that as an escape. Well, then when I had kids, I realized despite that being gone, the problems were still there. I was creating unsafe environments for my kids. They were, I was yelling at them. I was yelling at their mom. Just that we talked about was key. Like you can resist it all you want, but unless you deal with it and actually face the problems, it's never going to go away. They'll just resurface different ways as you go throughout your journey. So I don't know if you want to talk about how you eventually got to the point where you broke away from some of those things that you wanted to resist and hope they would go away.
So there was a lot that was going on for me early on. To be honest, like I'll be really honest, man. If it, I don't know about you guys, I definitely want to speak for you guys, but if it wasn't for my mission for the Dad Edge, I wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. I would have probably made a choice to end my life quite a bit ago, probably over a decade ago, easy. But because I really didn't, I was hopeless. I thought I was broken. I thought because of the way I was brought up, I was going to do my kids more damage. And to be honest, like that did not sit well with me. And there was a part of me, there wasn't a part of me. There was the whole me. I could not live with myself if I was another generation of failure, because I knew how horrible firsthand it all felt growing up. And if I did that to somebody else, I would harbor such regret. I wouldn't be able to live with it. So it was insanely important to me to get things right. My patience was awful, right? I had no skills of communication. My communication skills overall were terrible, not even just in my marriage, but parenting in the workplace. Like I was a terrible leader. Like I remember I got my first promotion in executive level management back, like, I think it was 2010. I was just a mess. Like I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. I don't even know why I got the job. Like I was like, I don't even know I got this, but okay. But, I was really bad at stonewalling my wife, like we'd get into an argument and I just walk. I drank a lot too. I wouldn't say I had a drinking problem, but I used it to cope with certain things. Like, so you would never find me like drinking every day or anything like that. Cause I've always been pretty health conscious, but you find me hitting it pretty hard on the weekends, right? Drugs, not my thing. Never really was my thing. I never got into them. I guess I was seeing as much abuse of drugs and alcohol growing up. I was freaked out to do drugs. Like I was like, oh my God, like if I go down that road, holy crap, I'm screwed. So I never really got into drugs. I ate my problems away early on, which made me really unhealthy physically. And then I kind of like lost about 50, 60 pounds when I was about 17. But like I didn't even know what overall health was. Like I thought health was physical. Didn't really understand, mental health. I didn't really understand even emotional health, emotional well-being. And I certainly didn't understand mental and emotional health within my relationships with other people and how that was like it. I'm not going to lie. I was a total shit show. And I wasn't abusive either. Like I wasn't like, you would never find me calling my wife a name ever. You would never hear me calling my kids names. But I was not fun to be around. I'll just put it that way. And I was stagnant and I was not a good example. So I would say the first things that I really want to fix, like actually the first thing I really wanted to fix before dadhood was my marriage. I just wanted to get that on point because I really felt that I was like, if I could get Jessica, our marriage, like me and Jessica, if I could get us on the same page, I think that would be a domino that I would feel very fulfilled in that relationship, that I would be able to execute in other areas. Like if I could get this right, I'd be like, that's pretty good. A life with a solid marriage is pretty good. If you show me a guy with a badass marriage, like the guy just is a savage at marriage, you're probably going to see a savage in business. You're probably going to see a really great dad too. You're going to see a really good man. If he can get that one right, because it's pretty hard, you're going to do pretty well. And I had to learn certain things like emotional validation. I had to learn what is actually intimacy, because I always thought it was sex. And there's several levels of intimacy, right? I had to learn that my wife's 3 basic needs were seen, heard, and safe, and smacking her ass in her yoga pants was not one of them. And I couldn't figure that one out. Like, why don't you like this? It's like, and I had to also understand that my 3 needs were to be respected, appreciated, and I need physical affection. That's what men need. But it's also my job to communicate those things. And there's this incredible dichotomy of how men take things to extremes. I had to learn that one too. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to be a good, for instance, I have this client right now. Well, he's not even a client yet. I sent him a proposal. I did a discovery call with him yesterday. This guy's been married for 6 years. He showed up to our discovery call I'll just call it for what it is. My heart bleeds for the guy. And I was this guy, but he showed up with the energy of Eeyore from like Winnie the Pooh. Like, my marriage is in kind of a bad spot. She kind of tells me that I don't really connect with her too much and that kind of thing. And I looked at him, I said, can I just ask you a question? And I told him, I was like, dude, I was in your position. I totally get where you're at. I do. I was like, quick question though. Is this the energy you bring to your marriage? And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, just sort of like what you're doing. And in my mind, I was like, this is insanely low energy. This is not connecting. This is a guy that doesn't even seem like he even wants to be around his wife. Like that was kind of, and maybe that's probably what she feels. I said, do you bring this kind of energy to your wife? He's like, I guess I do. And I go, so you don't know? He's like, I don't know. I was like, well, I'm just going to share this with you. I used to bring this energy to my marriage. My wife was repulsed by it. It's not attractive. And I had to learn that. I was like, but so that guy, like what he's doing now, I was like, well, tell me how you're trying to save the marriage now. Because what happened was his wife kind of stepped out on him a little bit. She just got sick and tired of him not showing up, and she sort of kissed somebody else and it broke his heart. I was like, so what are you doing now? He's like, oh man, like doing the laundry, cooking all the meals, getting her coffee in the morning. So basically what he's trying to do is like scramble and become like his wife's slave. And I looked at him, I was like, that is no, I see what you're doing. I was like, but that is not the way to your wife's heart. In fact, she's going to lose respect for you if this is what you do. And in fact, she's going to also know and think that, well, I got to put pressure on him and treat him like shit in order for him to treat me well. And I was like, that's not a relationship, man. I was like, that's what people will do. I was like, but what we need to do is we need to make you the most attractive, most confident and leader, and bring that energy and how to connect with her and how to communicate with her. I was like, not do the duties around the house, connect with her. And you could tell, like, the guy was like, what do you mean? And I was like, when was the last time you had a deep conversation with your wife that was outside of parenting or activities or the kids or anything else? He was like, kind of like looked up. I was like, no offense, man, but if you have to think about it, it's been way too long. I was like, when was the last time you did a date night? And he just kind of like looked, and I was like, if you have to think about it, it's too long. I was like, so this is what I'm talking about. Your wife is screaming at the top of her lungs, will you please connect with me? Will you please talk to me? Will you please communicate with me? Can you please step up, right? Not for you to be a slave and do the laundry. And then you kind of saw the guy's light bulbs go off of like, oh crap, right? So guys will take, a troubled relationship and they'll do a bunch of like activity that they think will help the thing out, right? And what they usually don't know is that very activity will repulse their wives even more. So, I was doing all those things too. It wasn't until you have to strike this dichotomy in your marriage where you give, but you also build credibility and respect, right? Respect and appreciation, the way your wife speaks to you, the way she loves you, the way she communicates with you, right? If she's calling you names and treating you like one of the children, that is a really bad sign. And that definitely needs to be taken care of. So just things like that, that a lot of people it's not on their radar, and it wasn't on mine a long time ago.
This is why I like having people on to talk to at like a high level, because like, not that I'm a Eeyore or that kind of thing, but like I almost just explained like me, because like, so my little backstory is kind of the same way. I lost a job that I loved. I was building up, working my way up, and it just ended, stopped. I worked with a bunch of dudes that I loved working with, and we were there Friday. Monday, we found out they were shut down. And so from going to that to then, I mean, I don't work, but I do like social media for places and stuff like that. But to go just being home completely by myself 24/7, and then like going job after job after job, not getting anything, you kind of feel like, oh, well, no one wants me. And so that's where I got into my low place in life. And same thing. I thought about taking my life, and I was just like, I'm done. And it took my wife telling me like, hey, Alec, you got to figure out what you're doing. And my daughter telling me she wants a different dad. Like, it took that to like wake me up and kind of just get things going. And I like, things have gotten better since then, but still like what you just said, like, I'm still working from home, but like do the dishes, clean the house, all this stuff for my wife, just to kind of just make sure she comes home happy, because she works a little bit farther away. But I feel like you just explained me, so
it's those things that. But here's the thing: you're doing it from this place because you care about her, right? Mm-hmm. And it's this is where I truly believe activity, busyness doesn't equal results, right? Mm-hmm. So you can do all these things, right? But we don't know if they're needle movers. We use that term a lot in the group. So it's like, well, you can do those things, but is it a needle mover for her? Like, does it actually get her attention? Does she appreciate it? Does she love it? That kind of thing. Or is it just like, oh, he's doing that thing, right? Can I share something else with you guys that I think might be really relatable and kind of authentic and humbling a bit? So, yeah. Just because the three of us do shows like this, right? And just because the three of us teach this kind of stuff, that doesn't mean that by any means are we immune to really horrific, horrible moments. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'll share this with you and the rest of the audience. Like, yes, I do this work, and yes, I know a thing or two about it. And yes, I probably live a much better life at this, in 10 years into this than I did my first year. But I have horrific moments still, that I have to somehow rebound from. Just to share a quick story with you. This was back in January. Really not proud of this. My wife and I were going through a crazy, crazy, crazy busy season the busiest we've ever been as parents. We went through about a 7-month stint where all 4 boys were in all demanding sports. One of them was in 2. My oldest is a wrestler, and he's also in the high school marching band, which is kind of an anomaly. Like, you don't really see that too often.
Right.
We call him the pattern breaker for that one. He's the only kid in band who wrestles. And then my 17-year-old, he's the starter on the football team. So he Friday Night Lights, and then my 5th grader decided this year, he was like, I want to be like my older brother, and he wants to play tackle football. And then my youngest decided he wants to play hockey. Oh. And for all those hockey parents who listen to your show, I did not know that when you sign up your kid for hockey, you're signing up for like a part-time job. It's insane. So like for 6 straight months, 7 months, my wife and I had, I'm not kidding, I think there was something ridiculous one like for 2 months in a row. It was like 53 straight nights. There was a kid activity without a break. And we were like, wow. Yeah. And I was like we were smoked. And because we were smoked, nobody was happy. Everybody was stressed out. Everybody was overwhelmed. So we had this huge snow one day back in January. And I went online and I knew the snow was coming, and I bought everybody new tubes, and I bought new snow stuff for people. Cause people, when you have kids, they get bigger over the years. And so I was like, it's going to be great. We're going to all sled as a family. And we got this dog a year and a half ago, and he's a cool dog, but he pees everywhere, and he pees on people. So he gets really excited when he sees new people, and he jumps on them and he pees on them at the same time. So long story short, it's only a miracle that this dog has not ended up 6 feet under my backyard from an accident, if you know what I'm saying. But I couldn't stand this dog because he would piss in our car. He'd piss on my kids' friends. He'd piss everywhere. So this day comes, we're getting our snow stuff out. The dog comes running in after going to the bathroom. I had no idea that when you have a dog that's half poodle, the snow gets caked and stuck in the fur. So I'm like, this dog comes in, I'm trying to dry him off, and I'm already irritated. I'm like, oh, you damn dog, right? And then gets away from me, jumps on our brand new couch that we had just gotten the week before, full of snow, full of dirt, and then pisses on the couch and then rubs the snow all over it. And dude, I was like, and I'll keep it very clean for your show, but I'll put it this way. I thought the roof of my house blew off because I yelled so loud, and I literally almost grabbed my Glock and took this dog out in the backyard and shot him. I was like, wow. And I was yelling at the dog. Mm-hmm. My 19-year-old comes up and he's like, what is going on? And I never talk like this in front of my family, but I was like, this fucking dog I was like, kill this fucking dog. Like, I went nuts. And my 19-year-old was like, whoa, like, you're mad. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm mad. No one takes care of this damn dog but me and your mom. I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I went nuts. Went downstairs, and I went to get a few things out of the laundry, and we have a walkout, and I could see out of my slider that my 19-year-old had walked outside from upstairs, and he was sitting on the landscaping retaining wall with his head down like this, just sitting out there. And I was like, I wonder what he's upset about. He looks upset. Like, I wonder what's going on. And I didn't think 2 things of it because I was mad at the dog. Mm-hmm. And I went up to him a couple hours later, and I'm like, hey, I saw you outside. Were you okay? And my son, 19 years old, looked at me dead in the eye, and he actually looked at me with disappointment. Like, I saw it. And he goes, yeah, I was having a hard time. And I was like, and I knew, I was like, oh boy, like this has something to do with me. Yeah. And I go, did your hard time have anything to do with me getting mad at the dog? He's like, yes. I was like, okay. I was like, well, what were you thinking? He goes, yeah, I was thinking I don't want to be here anymore. And I was like, what? And he's like, I was thinking I just want to leave and go to a friend's house. I just didn't want to be here anymore. And I'm like, are you, I never heard my son say that ever. And my heart freaking broke, man. It sunk. And I was like, you were thinking that you didn't want to be in your own home? Mm-hmm. And he goes, no, I didn't. You were so upset. It scared me. I didn't like it. And I didn't like the person you were. It scared me. And I was like, and here's what he did. Those were my words my entire teenage years. I don't want to be here. Please I just want to spend the night at friends' houses. I did. I would spend a week sometimes at friends' houses spending the night because I still want to be home. And I was like, oh my God, Ethan, are you serious? And he's like, and with all seriousness, he's like, I'm dead serious. I'm like, oh my God, dude. I was like, that, Ethan, I was like, that is not what I wanted to happen. I'm so sorry. I was like, that anger was not directed at you. He goes, I know it wasn't, but it was so intense that I felt like it was. And it was just so intense. I couldn't help but like kind of absorb it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to recover from that. So like, here's what I'll tell you. Like, you feel like, number one, you feel like a bad dad for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're the bad dad who for a decade has been on this microphone talking about how to prevent stuff like that, and then you do it, you're like, but it's just a reminder that no matter how much good we put in here, like there are going to be some bad moments, and it's how do you recover from those bad moments and what are you going to do about it? So I just want to share that because like, I think some people think like, oh, your house is always in order. Man, it's not. It's messy around here. Ask anybody, they'll tell you.
It's just because we're in the public eye doesn't mean we got things figured out.
It's true. So true.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. Because like, you're right. And even like sometimes being on this mic, like you said, like, man, I thought I had all this figured out. I thought, I'm the dad that, creates a safe environment. I'm the dad. And then you have that one day where something triggers something you haven't dealt with, and it all comes up and you explode and you become the person you said you would never be. You would never create this environment. And now you're talking to your son and like, he doesn't want to be there. He's not safe. I've had moments with my 4-year-old. He will call me out on things. And this is what I want. Like, you call me out. You tell me, like, when you have something happen, you're like, Dad, that's not cool. He'd come up to me, Dad, that's not cool that you yelled. And sometimes like we'll like be joking and I'll get like a loud voice and he'll ask like, were you guys yelling at each other? And Jasmine and I we're just playing around or whatever. But it's heartbreaking when you have those moments with your kids. You're like, dang it, this is not the environment I wanted. I wanted to create a safe environment for you. I want you to know that you can always be here, and this will be the safest place. If you go out into the world and you feel safe and you come back here, this is the one place that can be the base where you feel safe. And so thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that even after 19 years of putting in work, it's still, you have those moments where life will say, nope, you haven't dealt with that yet.
Yeah,
you're going to have to deal with that. So, and good on you too for almost like swallowing your pride, because there's some dads out there that they'll hear that and they'll be like, well, it wasn't directed towards you, so I don't know why you're upset. Like, and get upset about what they're saying and completely not validate their emotions. And I don't know if you've created something in your house where it sounds like you have, where you validate their emotions and you realize your own mistakes in the process and can apologize and create that space for it. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, but
yeah, it's so validation, it's literally, I honestly think it's one of the easiest things that we can miss. It's also one of the most effective tools we have in relationships that we could possibly muster. Like, if you want to make your wife feel seen, heard, and safe, if you want to fulfill all three of those needs in one fell swoop, validate where she's at, validate her emotions. You'll do it. She'll think you're the sexiest, most attractive person in the world, and you don't have to solve any of her problems. It's actually way less work than trying to, help her with solutions and giving her advice. All you have to do is say what you think she feels and ask her to give you more detail. That's it. And here's another authentic story. I'm sharing all these face plants with you guys, but I guess it's essential to share the good stuff too. But like, I remember when my wife and I've been married now 22 years. I've known her for almost 30 years. And in our relationship, she'd come and talk to me like all wives do, right? Tell me about her day. This is when she was working full time, or tell me about like something happened with her friend, or even after kids, like, oh, this just happened with Ethan. Like, and I'd go into solution mode. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I get that. We should do this. We should do that. Or you should do that. Or have you thought about doing this? You should do that. And I never understood why I would sense it, why my wife would emotionally distance herself away from me when we would talk like that. I'm like, sitting here giving her like all this, not that I'm always right. And some of my advice sucks. Right. But I was like, some of them I'd be like, man, I know this would work. I know it would work. And she would say things like, you're not listening to me. And I'm like, is there somebody else in this room? Because I think I heard every word you said. I just shared with you what I think we could do about it. Yeah, but you're not hearing me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, it's like, and this is where guys like I'll tell you one other really quick story. My 19-year-old was talking to his girlfriend and he's like, I don't understand girls, Dad. And then like he was telling me about this situation. I was like, let me break it down for you. This is what she's thinking. This is her perception of it. And here's your perception of it. And neither one of you are meeting in the middle because you don't understand each other. I was like, so you need to have a conversation like this where you understand each other. But I actually said this to my wife once because she'd be like, she's like, why do you always give me advice? Like I remember her asking me this and I looked at her. I was like, why wouldn't I give you advice? She's like, well, I don't really want your advice. I was like, well, then don't talk to me. I really said that to my wife. I said that to her and she looked at me like she was heartbroken. And I was like, yeah, don't like, if you don't want my advice, don't ask. And I can't believe that came out of my mouth. So now I don't ever give advice unless she asks. Now I look at myself as I am a ridiculously, amazingly good listener that makes people feel comfortable. And I just want them to keep talking. And I want you to share whatever's on your mind and heart. And there ain't no judgment here. I just want to hear it. And what it looks like is when my wife is like, oh my God, today was so overwhelming. I'll just be like, today was overwhelming. Tell me about it. What happened? She'll be like, oh, I went to pay the medical bill at St. Luke's and oh my God, I accidentally put that payment towards the credit card. I don't know what I was thinking. And instead of me being like, we'll call the bank, we'll do this, we'll do this. Have you thought about doing this? I'd be like, oh my gosh, that sounds really frustrating. Like, tell me more about that. Man, if I was you, yeah, I'd be pretty frustrated too. Well, tell me more. You know, so when you validate, when all I have to say is like, that sounds really frustrating. Like who wouldn't be frustrated? Suddenly she just wants to talk more. And suddenly she's after, she got that one thing that she's after when she talks, when our wives come and talk to us, they're after one thing and it ain't solutions. It's connection. I did not know that. It took me, I'm a slow learner. It took me a decade or two to get that one. Finally got it. So all you newbies who are newly married, there's 20 years of like a master's degree and like the simplest lesson that could have taken you 5 minutes to learn, but it took me like 20. So
in the early years before parenting or when you guys started to become or talk about becoming parents, what was that like? Like with your history with your dads, were you scared to become a dad? What does that journey of becoming a dad look like?
I was terrified to be a dad. I told my wife when I met her in college that if you want to be married, you have to date somebody else. I'm not getting married. Like that was my view early on. I was like, I'm not getting married. Like my mom's been married 3 times. Every relationship I saw in between those marriages were disastrous. So an intimate relationship only ends in disaster. That was literally what I thought. And I was like, why in the world would you want to get married to somebody you love so much? Because it ends in disaster and you end up hating each other. So that makes no sense to me. So I was just like, I think I'll just date for my entire life. That'll be fun. And then I'm not kidding. That was my outlook. And then after like 7 years of us dating, I'm not kidding, 7 years, the most patient woman on the planet, we got married. And I was excited about it, but I was also scared about it. But the thing that scared me the most was like, that means I got to be a dad. I want to be a dad, but nothing scares me more. I'll never forget when we were pregnant with our first. Everybody, you know, you're like, oh, you're so excited. It must be great. And I'll never forget a week before my oldest son came, my stepmom, who's married to my biological father, she's like one of those people that you can't help but tell everything to. And then you walk away from the conversation like, holy crap, I can't believe I told her all that. Because she's just one of those people that just like, you feel so comfortable to talk to. And I sat down with her a week before my son was born. This was almost 20 years ago. And she's like, oh my gosh, like 7 days away. You must be so excited. And I looked at her and I don't know what it was. And I was like, I'm freaking out. And she's like, she laughed and she's like, what? No, you're not. And I was like, no, I'm terrified. I was like, Lisa, I'm freaking out. I don't think you understand. I'm not sleeping. Like I'm terrified of what's going to happen. She's like, oh my gosh, you're serious. I was like, yeah, I'm dead serious. I was like, I don't want this kid. I want the kid to be in there for like another month. And she's like, oh yeah. I kind of forget like how scary this really is. And I told her, I was like, what if I don't do this right? What if I can't stand the crying? What if I can't handle my anger? Like there were so many fears. It wasn't even funny that I was terrified to have a kid because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So yeah, to answer your question, I think there's terrified And then there's like a whole nother measure of terrifying. And then that was probably me to some degree.
Yeah, I think for me, I was super excited, and then Nate was here, and all the stuff that I thought was like, oh, it'll be fine, everything will be good. It all came out, the crying. I later found out, like, this is like a year into his life. I was diagnosed with ADHD way late in life. So I didn't realize that sensory issues was a thing to me until crying happened. And that threw me like through the roof. And Jasmine and I were yelling at each other, and Nate was crying, and everybody just like, and she was going through postpartum, and like just everything all at once just started falling apart. Our marriage was basically about to be done after that first year. And she was like, I don't know what's going on, because there would be times I'd often say, like, I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but I just don't process things right. Or I don't know what's wrong with me. And she's like, you need to go, she ended up being a teacher's assistant in a classroom where there was kids with ADHD and autism. And she's like, I am pretty sure you have ADHD, and I think you need to go get tested or go to a counselor and just kind of talk through these things. So I did that, and got a diagnosis, and started getting on medication, started understanding what ADHD is, and kind of going through that. But like, I was just like in la la land thinking, oh, things are going to be great. Wasn't scared. I was just really happy. I was like, come on, I want to see this guy. And then that's when the terrifying part happened. Like, oh my gosh, I'm yelling like my dad yelled, exploding like he did. My son, who's just 3 or 4 months old, he's got to be scared out of his mind. He doesn't know what the heck's going on. He's just hearing these loud voices. And that's what really put me in shock and terrified me. Like, am I really becoming this? This is who I've been so excited to be a dad. And now I feel like I don't know what the heck is going on with me. So kind of like a little bit of a difference. The terrifying came after Nate was here. And because I was able to get, things on track, and, once we had the twins, like Rylan and Elijah, like it just like, I was at a healthier place, and I was like, this is what like it was meant to feel like in a healthier place. And so, yeah, no, I just wanted to share that tidbit. But
so glad you did.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it kind of reminds me. Have you ever seen the movie Finding Nemo? Where at the very end they're in the ocean, but they're in bags, and they're like, now what do we do? Mm-hmm. Like, was that the feeling? Like when you came home, you're like, I didn't think this far.
Yeah, we got back. I know that first night, like, Jasmine was like terrified that he'd stop breathing in the middle of the night. Well, yeah. The scary part was we both had like passed out in the hospital room, and he was in there with us, and he was laying on his back, but he had puked and he couldn't breathe because it didn't. Yeah, it wasn't like it just came up, but sat at the top of his mouth. And she woke up, and because she woke up, and oh my gosh, he's not breathing. Like that moment, just was like the most terrifying moment for her. Yeah. And so like that first night we brought him home, like we couldn't sleep, and it was a very trying time. And then of course, a lot of women go through postpartum. So she was having to deal with that on top of dealing with my stuff. And I'm over here like, what's going on? Like I feel like she's not okay, which she wasn't. And I'm not okay, which I wasn't. And like, I don't feel like my son's okay because he's having experienced all this. He just got into this world, and this is the chaos that he's in. And so, yeah, it was definitely like one of those moments like, well, I did not think this through. I did not think that I needed to go through all this healing and all this stuff mentally, emotionally. I thought, just become a dad and it'll be all right. But very quickly realized that's not how that works. And you're a rookie when you start out, and you're a rookie throughout the journey because things are different along the path, and you feel like you got things going, and then all of a sudden you're in a different stage of life and you don't have anything figured out. And so, it's great that you kind of like, just got to swallow your pride and just, hop on chats like this and just like, talk through, oh, you've been through the same similar stuff. Like, oh, I guess I'm not alone in all this. So
I love that, man. Yeah. You pretty much just illustrated every dad when he comes home with a kid. So yes, pretty much, but we just don't say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
We just hold it and say, yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, as we come up on the time, we first off just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here with us and talk to the audience and talk to dads about your journey. And we like to ask for any new dads out there, for any dads in the thick of it, any dads that are, have had kids for 20 years. What is the one piece of advice that you could give a dad just to, like, if he's going through a hard day and he needs something, what would you say to him?
Here's what I'll say to dads that I think my hope is this is like oxygen in your lungs. Okay. Mm-hmm. Fatherhood, raising your son or daughter, your fulfillment, your enjoyment, the know-how, how to do it, what to do, when, the confidence, all that, it's no different than anything else that we go learn. So like, I'll give you an example. I have a degree in sports medicine with a minor in nutrition. I've dedicated 4 years of my life learning all the science of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, exercise, phys. I know exactly how the body works and moves and the nutrition, everything that goes into it to get whatever result on performance you possibly could want. Right. And when it came to fatherhood, I was like, I don't know how to change a diaper. You know what I mean? But the thing is that I didn't dedicate any time or resources to my life to learn, I mean, like, another example, I did martial arts for over a decade and I was okay at it. I wasn't great, but I was okay at it. Like, if I was to get attacked, I could probably defend myself. But if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't know how to defend myself. I'd go off raw instincts and just panic, fight or flight, and just come out swinging, right? And we all see on TikTok how well that usually works out for people, right? Yeah. But so the advice I have for men is, if you don't know how to be a father, you are in great company, okay? Because nobody does. Mm-hmm. And if you say yes to stepping into a new status of fatherhood, and what I mean by status is, I am going to be a father who's educated. I'm going to be a learning father. My fatherhood journey is a journey of learning. Like, if that's the status and what you're willing to step into versus like, I'll figure it out. That's not the status we're talking about. That's not the opportunity we're talking about. So if you don't know jujitsu, chances are you've never taken jujitsu. But the good news is there are jujitsu schools all over the place. You can go learn. Mm-hmm. If you have a business and you don't know how to run your business, the good news is there's tons of masterminds out there and coaches out there that will help you run your business effectively and profitably and all that good stuff. Guess what? Fatherhood and marriage, it's in the exact same camp as those things, but we just don't know it because we like to view it as like, I don't want or need help there, because if I ask for help there, people are going to think I'm less than. And plus, like, a lot of guys are like, I don't even want to say it out loud that I don't have that one figured out. Like, I don't even want to say that to myself, more or less anybody else. But here's what I'll tell you. As soon as you say it, all that fear goes away. And here's the other thing too. If you say it to other people, other men, here's what they'll probably say. Who are you going to go learn it from? I'd like to come too. I'm not kidding. Like, people are just like, there's something out there like that. Oh, what is it, man? Can you forward it to me? Like, so it's really okay if you don't understand it. And here's what I'll tell you. I'm going to give you some love, and I'm going to give you some tough love. If you don't know how to be a dad, and you don't know how to be a husband, number one, you're in good company, and it's not your fault. We're not taught this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, no one goes to college for fatherhoodology, right? But here's the tough love part. Now there are resources out there. If you don't take action and you don't take responsibility for learning, well, that one's on you. That is your fault. That's our fault if we don't capture that, take advantage of it, learn. And what I can tell you, man, like I said, I am far from a perfect father, but I'm definitely better than what I was before. And what I can tell you is the fruit that learning has provided me in the relationships and the fruit that it's helped our other members and clients, it's invaluable in my opinion. Like you can go out and make all the money you want in a job, be, die rich. You can be a pro athlete, die in the Hall of Fame. Nobody wants to die saying my dad was a piece of crap. Mm-hmm. Nobody. Like none of the other stuff even matters. And the last thing I'll say is this. The definition of hell, and this is not my quote, I think this came from Napoleon Hill, but the definition of hell is meeting the man that you could have become when you're lying on your deathbed. And when I heard that, every time I say it, I get the chills. Because when I first heard that quote, I was like, oh God, that's the guy I'm meeting. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, my hope is I'll be standing in front of a mirror. That's the hope. And that's what I'm shooting for. Zero regrets. I want me and every guy that has some sort of touch point with Dad Edge is on his deathbed with a smile. And he's saying to himself, it wasn't perfect and it wasn't always pretty, but damn, it was good. Mm-hmm. And I loved it.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. And that's for everyone listening. That's a good thing just to think about. Just what do you want and how are you going to live? So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you do with the Dad Edge and just touching and talking to men and just making better men and sharpening that Dad Edge. So yeah, just thank you.
You bet. And thank you guys. We need 100,000 other podcasts like this. I truly believe, and I think you guys are in the same camp, that if more men were doing work like this, the world would change overnight. And I didn't even say that. Meg Meeker said that, who wrote the book, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, and she's New York Times bestselling author on the topic. She says, if you put an on point, a purposeful, intentional dad underneath the roof of every home in America, the entire world would change overnight. And I think she's right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, DJ, we'll see you in the next one. Everyone listening, we love you. We thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I hope you got some good nuggets out of today, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. See you guys.